This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Today on Financial Insanity, we're talking about a mistake that so many Americans make when it comes to their IRAs. Rolling over an employer-sponsored 401k into an IRA can be a great choice for so many of us, but according to Vanguard, there's one simple mistake that more than 1 in 4 investors make during that process. And get this, the mistake costs investors a total of more than $170 billion each year in lost wealth. I'm Alex Dingman. I'm here with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And that number, as always, if you have questions, 609-488-4646. As we're talking about this mistake people can make, later on we're going to be talking about creating a lasting legacy. And then, of course, we're going to be reaching into that Financial Insanity mailbag. Scott, it is great to see you, my friend. Always a highlight of my week. Ready to get going here and tell people about this important information. And it's a major mistake, but why is this happening so much, Scott?
You know, Alex, this is a great session today. And if you're listening and you're driving, you might want to remember to give our studios a call, because I've seen so many people that have the mistake wanting to roll their money over. Maybe they are 59 and a half and they can roll their money over because their accounts in their 401k, they're stuck to the normal investments within the account. I call them the cookie cutter investments, where you can go outside of these cookie cutter investments, and now you can find some better. You can get the universe of investments out there, which is master limited partnerships, real estate investment trust. Maybe you're going to buy a business development corporation. These income tools, again, depending on what president is in and what they're pushing, this is an important thing. But I want to make it clear to you, Alex, we've seen so many mistakes on the rollovers. Alex, what made you think about this session today? I'm glad.
Yeah. No,
spoke about it.
No, right. And it was Vanguard, and it's one of those places we go to for information like this. And when I saw this pop out, I said, wow, the numbers were just so huge that it really just speaks to the power of dealing with somebody who can look at your finances, look at your retirement from a comprehensive approach. And so if you would talk a little bit here about the mistake, because it's not the actual rollover. The mistake is not completing the rollover, right, Scott?
It is, or maybe the misinterpretation what rollover is. So
Right.
Number one, you can do a rollover if you're still working and you're 59 and a half by most employers. Now, some employers or the townships, the 457s may not allow it. So if maybe you want to move out of you didn't retire, but you maybe want to get into the universe of investments, which is what smart people do. They want to go and where can I get all the goodies versus just a few goodies.
Right.
That's age 59 and a half. Mistake number one, that you misinterpret what 60 days means. What does 60 days means is rollover. You take the money out. So you're allowed to take the money out, Alex, and put it in your pocketbook, but you got 60 days. When that check hits account to get it into an IRA. And if you don't, the IRS loves to penalize your money. And the penalty, Alex, is pretty severe, pretty severe. So number one, you want to make sure that you do it correctly. And number two, when you do a rollover, one way is you can they send a check to your house in your name, and that gives you 60 days. But you're only allowed to do it one time a year. If you do it more than one time, you will be taxed on the second or third or whatever. So they used to move money all day long. But Alex, that's a big problem. And if you're out there, most smart people want to have the universe of investments tools, especially with the market sizzling right now. And maybe you don't have the right tools. But again, What is the definition of 60 days? By the way, if you're going through this right now, please do yourself a favor. Please do your spouse a favor. 609-488-4646. The best number to give a call and you want to ask questions, 609-488-4646, because you don't want to hit the double taxation penalties. You don't want to miss the one rollover per year. And I can tell you, if you're a smart investor and you want to take advantage of the great economy, or maybe the lagging economy, getting outside of the cookie cutter tools are very important. 609-488-4646 will help guide you through this, because this is a very great way to move money to a great accounts or to make a huge mistake that you can't fix.
Well, and Scott, that is a great point. And looking at these numbers from Vanguard and IRA rollovers completed in 2015, Vanguard found 28% of savers still had their funds in cash 7 years later. So that's more out of 1 in 4 who took their money from their 401k, never took the next step to invest it into an IRA. So the question being, why would people make this decision to stay in cash?
Number one, maybe they don't like what the economy's doing, or maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're a do-it-yourselfer, and maybe they're thinking about getting to it, but they're nervous and they put it aside. And that's normal, Alex. I see that more often than not. This is why do they go to an investment guy or girl? And then the challenge is, you go to an investment guy or girl, are they knowledgeable in taxes? Are they knowledgeable in estate planning? We're going to give it a story about a client that had the wrong estate planning that's set up in their 401k. And then are they knowledgeable on how to do it to make sure you're not being taxed? So those are three big challenges that's why they're leaving it in cash. They don't know where to go. And then they're afraid. Maybe they got ripped off by a financial advisor. All they're looking at is, what can they sell you, not educate you? What can they put you into, and not walking you through the valley that you're about to go into that you're not used to. And now maybe he or she's good looking, nice, beautiful smile, nice, warm office, but they don't know what the heck they're doing. And maybe the economy's taking a downfall. There's not a protection mode in the portfolio and they lose a lot of money. Older people, they just don't have enough time to catch up like you, Alex. The market drops. You got plenty of time. When you're looking at a 65, 70-year-old retiring, and they think, oh, man, what if the market drops 30 to 40%? What would happen? When can I get my money back? Do I have enough time? I want to leave more to the kids. So, Alex, this is why, just a few reasons why people are leaving it in cash. And, the fear of the unknown makes them like a deer in the headlights. They freeze.
Well, and Scott, that's where you can come in and you can help educate folks. And obviously, there's no cookie cutter solution, but you have your opinions, and obviously it's going to be based too off of a person's situation. But this can be costly for folks if you keep it in cash and you don't take advantage of that. Potential wealth that you could see, if you would have done this properly. So maybe speak to that a little bit about just how you can help kind of, paint this picture for folks.
During election time, I will say that to our listeners, whatever election time you're going through right now, the concern is maybe you just wait until the election is over. So, the president that's in the House, the direction that he or she is moving in. This is what we're telling our clients is to say, let's put this on hold for a second. Let's put into a money market account yielding, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever the rate is at the time. And can we wait until the election is over? Because this will guide us to perhaps where we go. Now, other financial people will say, no, just put it in there. It always happens every year. The Democrats do this, Republicans do that. I'd like to be more cautious and more attuned to what's happening in the markets. Right now, we have a building shortage. So I'm looking at building products. So we spoke to one girl today. It's averaging almost 12 to 15% the past 5 years in a row. Should we look into building products? Are we having houses? So we want to see what the economy is doing, the environment's doing, and then what the president and or Congress, if they're on the same page, what they're doing. So again, lack of knowledge could cause you out there to freeze up. And again, you need to be aware of all the choices you have. There's so many choices to go into. And I think the more education, the more knowledge, which is why people go to our website, Alex. I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys, but our website is 609-488-4646.com. You can go to the website and get as much information as you want. It's totally free. You can download my book if you wish to. It'll guide you through. And in my book chapter, by the way, I forgot to say this is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I talk about the hidden fees you're unaware of. So please download that. It's one of the chapters in my book. I think you'll be thrilled. But again, when you're rolling money over, are you paying attention to all the demons that could be trying to grab your money just to make a sale, but not educate you on what you could do for your money and how to really make it really work for you? Because again, this is money you work so hard for, Alex. People work so hard. It works so hard and nothing but happens. But the IRS wants to grab your wallet. They want to grab everything they can. And our job is to avoid that, which is the advisor you're working with better know how to review a tax return in addition to the estate planning, in addition to where do we put this money?
Well, and Scott, you would love to have this conversation with folks. You know, if people are worried, okay, the election, what's going to happen? This happens, that happens. Or, you know, what should I be thinking about the stock market? What should I be doing in the current interest rate environment? I mean, you would love to be having this kind of conversation with folks and answer the questions that people have. If you would, let people know how they could get a hold of you.
Alex, what I found, we'll be doing a workshop coming up. I believe it's December 9th. You can call and ask for Alex for our financial clients. And if they want to bring a guest, but we'll be doing whatever president gets in, whether it's Kamala Harris or President Trump. The question is, what are we doing? So we're going to be having a little hors d'oeuvres and food and drinks at the local restaurant. But if you want to come, if the seats are very limited, we're having our financial clients first because we want our clients to be aware. Feel free to call Alex, 609-488-4646. This is a great session. If there's openings, we'd love to have you. If not, we may be putting a webinar together. We can send that to you. But I think what's happening with the new elections right now, what do you do tax-wise? How do you prepare? If you're single, what about this sunset law coming off the table? What about we spoke about today is about the rollovers. Should you roll money over? And now you can control yourself and get really great, safe vehicles out there that could be guaranteed, or maybe get in investment tools that are by way of contract going to give you a nice steady income or dividend. Or maybe you should jump in the stock market, depending on, again, how you feel about the president that's coming in. I am not going to have a discussion between the audience about a bashing session. That makes no gain on anybody. We're going to talk about what we're doing, like we're doing right now, Alex, on how do we handle this environment? What should we do? How can we help you out there, which have been listening to me for almost 13, 14 years now on the same radio station, WBNJ, why I love them so much. They have been so wonderful to us as we're getting the word out there on how to make smart educational decisions. And then you can make the decision. And now with GPT chat, you can see if we're full of bananas or not. How about that?
There you go. And that number again, 609-488-4646 for Scott McLean and McLean Advisory Group. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about creating a lasting legacy. This is Financial Insanity.
Do you want your retirement to be affected by who's in the White House? We didn't think so. But here's the thing. No matter who wins this time, they'll only be in the office for 4 more years. But how long will your retirement last? Presidents can have a huge impact on taxes and the economy, but there's another presidential election in 4 years, then another, and so on. Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group can help you create a customized plan that's as White House proof as possible. Schedule your visit with Scott McLean today by calling 609-488-4646. Scott doesn't know who will win in November, but he can help you prepare for it, no matter what happens. Reach out to Scott McLean to get started. Call 609-488-4646. Don't let who's in the White House affect your retirement. Give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC.
get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us for Financial Insanity. You know, it's easy to make assumptions about what goes into a legacy plan. Scott McLean going to help make it clear for you as we dive into some of the basics of creating a lasting legacy for your family. So important to so many of us. And if you have questions, that number is 609-488-4646. For Scott McLean and McLean Advisory Group, located in Waretown, 609-488-4646. And Scott, I do want to go over some basics because I know you deal with this all the time, but you know, I want to make sure people understand what the main things are here when we're talking about this legacy. So, what are some important things to be thinking about?
You know, in creating a legacy, we call it the 3D approach to your financial planning: the dreams, the dollars, the investments, and the dynasty. And this, we're talking about dynasty right now, and I appreciate you asking that. I appreciate you guys listening to us at our radio station for now, I don't know, 14, 15 years right now.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to be clear on your dynasty, your legacy. Number one, the biggest challenge I find out when I do workshops, seminars, or when I meet clients, when George meets clients, or our financial advisors meets clients, is number one, they haven't dusted off their legal documents. They shove them in the drawer or their vault or their bank, and they don't read them. And that's problem number one. Problem number two, they forgot to double check what the lawyer wrote. They're trusting the lawyer wrote it up correctly, and he or she probably did. But when we review the legal documents once a year, did you hear me? Once a year, because maybe your son or your daughter is the executrix. Maybe they're the power of attorney. But maybe they died, or maybe their health went south and you didn't change it, or maybe the attorney didn't give a backup in case something happens to them. I can tell you, when George came to me the other day and we looked at some legal documents, I said, George, where's the backup? He goes, Scott, I can't find it anywhere. Let me see the darn thing. I don't believe you. And that George is a brilliant kid. I said, George, you're right. Did they wear that? Well, they just dropped it off. I wanted to review it for them because they're investing with us, but I wanted to make sure they're buttoned up on our areas. If you don't review your legal documents, and I say once a year, not with your lawyer, but at least with your financial advisor, the reason people meet with their financial advisor, Alex, is because pretty much they're the ones who are going to get the first phone call. Say, where's my money? What's going on? How do I get money out to take care of mom and dad? How do I take care of my children? And so, number one, your will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive, or maybe if you want to protect your money from the crows and the clowns, I call that the people that want to grab your money at the day you check out, or maybe your lights are dim and the nursing home wants to get it. This is why people call us and they come in so often because of this radio station, WBNJ. And when they come in, we review the legal documents in light of, you're clear, their financial planning and their financial instruments, because this is a problem. So again, you want to make sure you review the will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive. Maybe you have a Q-tip trust for those of you who are living with someone and you want to let them stay in your house. Maybe you have an irrevocable trust to protect the house from the nursing home. This planning is so strategic to you listening right now. You might think, well, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm fine. Okay, great, tough guy. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But you never know when somebody pulls over. Maybe you get a heart attack, or maybe they go to the doctor and get a checkup, or you get a blood test and all of a sudden, I don't say a cuss word. Maybe, that's right. Something came up. Guys, take care of this legacy planning. This is the dynasty you're passing on. And how you pass it on could be extremely taxable or extremely tax-free, in addition to taxes as legacy. So, Alex, I hope that sums up for you out there. By the way, if you've got a question, I have answers. George has answers. Our firm has answers. You know, being in the business now over 43 years, Alex, We've got a lot of people to call. We know who to call. And if you have an attorney, we'll call your attorney. We'll have a conversation. If we're doing finance with our firm, we're going to really make sure you, your spouse, your kids, or maybe your charity is buttoned up to keep it away from the IRS or from the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral.
Well, and that's why it's so important, Scott, as we're talking about creating this lasting legacy, to have a strategic legacy plan. If you could talk about just the benefits there, because there could be some, costly missteps, some overtaxation and other things if you're not strategic about this.
Let me give you a hint, Alex. Imagine you have a 401k, those people listening. Maybe you have a 403b. Maybe you have a 457. And you're married and your spouse gets the goodies. But maybe you didn't put down the children. So let me tell you what happens. Or maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend. But you don't put them down as beneficiary. What happens in this case, 9 times out of 10, you pass away, but your wife or spouse died. So they're out. That's called the contingent. Who gets it next? And here is the problem. The money goes to the estate. The estate now has the money. They have to cash it in, and then they pass it on to the beneficiaries in the will. That could cause 100% taxation to the beneficiary. Let me make it real clear. Rather than the 10-year stretch they call, you can get the money and you can take the money out over 10 years, which would reduce the contingent beneficiary's money. But if you don't pay attention to the taxes in addition to the beneficiaries, or maybe the financial advisor didn't ask these questions, shame on them, not you, because he or she, the financial advisor, if you're using one, shame on them. They should have looked at it. I know they're not a lawyer. Why would a financial planner look at the taxes? Why would they look at the legal? Because it's part of our process as a fiduciary. But here's the blessed thing. Imagine it going to your sweetie pie, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, because maybe your wife or your husband died. Maybe you have someone you're living with. You want to pass it on, and they're not on there. Do you want to avoid the instantaneous tax? Or can we do it? We've done this, Alex, before, where the person received over $800,000 and it was 100% taxable. Thank goodness they came to us, because we're able to work around the laws, making some phone calls, and how can we avoid this tax nightmare, because the IRS is pretty clear. By the way, if you're out there and you haven't reviewed and dusted off your legal documents, please do yourself, your spouse, your kids a favor. And write this down. This is very important. 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. Give our studios a call. We'll schedule a phone call. Maybe you have to come in and meet with our office. That's fine. But let's make sure you're buttoned up. And the reason we do this, Alex, is we want people to love us to death here. Over 40-something years in the industry, I can tell you one thing very clearly to you guys out there. Our firm continues to grow on warm introductions. Maybe you didn't do business with us, but I can tell you, when you come into our office, when you meet with us, you're going to feel treated right at home. We're going to make you feel right at home, whether you're a client or not, because we're not here to sell you. Hide your checkbook, hide your wallet, but come in with your questions. Write them down. Don't waste your time. Let's get right to the nitty-gritty so your dynasty, your legacy passes on. Your kids don't have to go to the courts to fix things. We can fix them with just a few drops of ink on a piece of paper, and just by a signature, you could protect your estate. But if you don't, you've caused a tremendous nightmare. And that's why at our firm, we have the lawyers here. You don't have to use our lawyers, but we can review things. We can ask questions instantly. So if we have a problem, we don't understand it, we can take care of it. 609-488-4646. Don't put this off. We're heading into a new year. We're heading into another year. We're heading into 5 years from now, and you've been putting it off. Don't put this off. I'd love to hear from you. If we can help you, we will help you right here at McLean Advisory, right here, Waretown, New Jersey.
Well, and Scott, it's all about making sure what happens with your dollars after you pass, what happens with it is what you wanted. This is not the kind of thing to make assumptions. Like you mentioned earlier, oh, well, I filled that paperwork out. years ago. It's good. No, pull that thing out. And that's why, working with somebody like you, you're going to do that. You're going to bust that out every year. You're going to look at, those beneficiary designations. You're going to go through that paperwork and make sure it's all accurate because it's a very important thing. If you would, talk a little bit about your approach that your team takes. When it comes to estate and legacy planning, at what point does that come up with somebody's overall retirement plan?
I'm thinking of Josephine and Thomas that came into our office in 2017. I'll never forget meeting a beautiful, beautiful couple, and they had 4 beautiful kids, and we spoke about their estate. And they never reviewed their legal documents. So we did their financial, we looked at their taxes, and now we're looking at the legal and found out the 4 children, they actually had 5. And as I read the will and the power of attorney, the power of attorney is the one that directs the medical decisions, and the power of attorney is the one that directs the financial decisions. Well, his wife, Josephine's, her lights got a little dim to the point that she couldn't take action. And I'm thinking about it, and I looked at the backup power of attorney because Josephine was now unable to make good decisions. Her lights were flickering. In other words, going dim. In other words, she wasn't all there. And I'm not being unkind if you're out there listening to me. I'm very, very serious. And I love people to death. But I'll never forget talking to Thomas and finding out that their daughter had died. She was the backup to the mother. Now, who gets involved? They have to go to the courts now to put this in place. And my question to you out there, husband can do it, wife can do it. The question is, who's the backup? And the good thing is, we could take care of this. The bad thing is, it could delay the process. You see, when Thomas died and Josephine is still alive and her lights are dim, there was no backup. The challenge in 2020 became horrendous. It became an attorney's happiness because they get it now. Their taxi meter goes up. The billing starts. Are you paying attention to the legacy? This is your will, or maybe you have a revocable trust or irrevocable trust. Maybe you have beautiful documents, but they just haven't been reviewed. And so I find this so often, Alex, more than not, people don't pay attention. They think they're okay. Like a deer in the headlights, you're heading for a traffic accident. Fix this, guys. 609-488-4646. If you want to speak to me off the air, I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. In our office, we'll set up a time we can have a discussion, Alex.
Yes, and that is Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. This is Financial and Insanity, and coming up, some of the top legacy planning mistakes you want to try to avoid. That is on the other side.
Do you want your retirement to be affected by who's in the White House? We didn't think so. But here's the thing. No matter who wins this time, they'll only be in the office for 4 more years. But how long will your retirement last? Presidents can have a huge impact on taxes and the economy, but there's another presidential election in 4 years, then another, and so on. Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group can help you create a customized plan that's as White House proof as possible. Schedule your visit with Scott McLean today by calling 609-488-4646. Scott doesn't know who will win in November, but he can help you prepare for it, no matter what happens. Reach out to Scott McLean to get started. Call 609-488-4646. Don't let who's in the White House affect your retirement. Give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC.
Can we really live the go-go years, or am I going to scrimp and save and stay at home and watch TV, watch Bob Barker? I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us for another installment of Financial Insanity. I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside financial advisor Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group, talking about some important stuff today, creating a legacy plan for your retirement and your family. If you have questions, The number for McLean Advisory Group in Waretown, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And Scott, if you could, my friend, what are some basic documents that we probably want to consider for a good estate plan?
You know, a great estate plan is having a plan. That's number one.
Yeah.
Not just winging it, or I'll get to it, or I think about it, but I haven't done it. Number one, having a plan implemented, signed. The documents, number one, is a will. Now, a will goes to probate. A will goes to probate. But a will is pretty much who gets the goodies. I call that real simple. The challenge I find inside the will, inside the goodies, is who's going to get it. And you may change it. You might have one son or daughter who's on the wrong side of the road. Maybe you need to get some trust agreement, which we'll talk about. The next one's called the living will. The living will, Alex, this is so important. It happened to my sister and I when Daddy was about to pass away. Mom said, "You guys handle it. I can't think about it." Mom was out of it.
Yeah.
And she said, "Scott, Sandy, my sister, handle it." Well, the living will says, do not resuscitate. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Goodbye. Well, Sandy wanted to feed Dad. And I remember, Sandy, I had this piece of paper. Daddy wanted to just go. He don't want to be fed. And he didn't want to be fed. And so Sandy wanted to feed him one night. And I remember get that phone call. I'm going to make Daddy comfortable. Her heart got involved, but her head left the paperwork. And I said, Sandy, please don't. I don't want to have to send a piece of paper to the hospital. Please don't feed Daddy. By the way, Daddy's going to haunt you if you do. He wants to go home. He wants to see his parents.
Right.
So living will. Next one's called the trust. You know, Alex, I'm not going to go through all 10 different types of trust, but there's more different types of trust. Sure. A lot of different types of trust. For example, maybe you have a son or daughter who every time they get a dollar, they're going to spend $5. That's called a spend-thrift trust. Maybe you have a special needs child and you want the money to go to the special needs child, but if they get it, they're going to lose benefits. Well, we need a special needs trust. Or maybe you have a testamentary trust. And so perhaps you want to avoid Medicare planning and Medicaid planning. Maybe you want an irrevocable trust. So each state is different. I know, Alex, this radio show goes across the country in several different places, but here at WBNJ Radio, the nicest thing is there are several trusts. Oh, by the way, I got to say something, Alex.
Yes.
I'm not an attorney. I work with a lot of attorneys. I know this business, but that's the attorney's job. I want to make a clear disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you after reading so many documents, I want to make sure you that are listening to our show for 12, 13, 14, 15 years now, I can promise you, we want to make sure you're buttoned up. So you might want to trust. How do we protect our money? How can we possibly reduce taxes? How do we make sure the charity get it? The next one's called the power of attorney. This is the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake is the two different types of power of attorneys. Number one is called healthcare. The one who's going to talk to the doctors, make the arrangements. And the second one's called the financial power of attorney. I was a financial power of attorney for my mom and dad's estate. Sandy, my sister, was the healthcare power of attorney. So it was two of us. If Sandy passed away, there needs to be a contingent. This is where I find mistakes in the power of attorneys. There's usually always should be a contingent, but many times I've never seen a contingent. There's just one or the other. So the power of attorney, I believe everybody should have that across the board. If you've got kids 18 years or older, they need a power of attorney. I don't care if they have no money in their bank account. They need a power of attorney. And the last one is called the advance directive for healthcare reasons. What's the game plan? How are we putting this together? Again, we talk about the tremendous dreams you have because you're never going to get sick or die. The tremendous dollars you've saved because you're going to enjoy your wonderful retirement and travel the world and go here and there and everywhere. But then the next discussion is your dynasty. How do we make sure that all that hard work you, your spouse, your loved ones have saved over time, how do we make sure that's protected for your family, not the government or some crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral, Alex? So these are the documents. Please don't put this off. If you have more questions, 609-488-4646. You can ask for George. You can ask for Scott. You can ask my staff to get a hold of a quick phone call. We would love to help you and guide you along with your finances because they go hand in hand in addition to the tax returns to make sure you are totally buttoned up and your safety shield, your protection is in place, Alex.
Yeah, no, so important. And so, Scott, if I'm out here, I'm listening, what are some first steps? What do I need to do? I'm concerned. I want to do this right. I want to make sure I have a good legacy plan in place. What are some of the first action items, steps I should take?
The reason people don't do anything, Alex, because there's so many steps.
Right.
So let's break it down. I appreciate the simplest thing. Number one, have you read your documents? Do you have documents? And if you don't have documents, don't beat yourself up. Let's get it done. Number two, after you read through the documents, take a step. Maybe you have a free consultation at our firm or a firm. Usually lawyers are going to charge you. At our firm, we don't. You'll meet with myself or George. We are not attorneys, but we know what to look for. We know how to deal because we deal with finances. That's what we do. But we also deal directly with the attorneys, whether it's your attorney or someone else's. Number three, I'd encourage you, I just thinking of this off the cuff. I'd encourage you, go to our website, 609-488-4646. Go to the book, Three Blind Mice, How the Financial Planning Process Leads Your Money to a Mousetrap, and download chapter 11. I walk through all the areas of this, Alex. I just was thinking about this. Holy mackerel. This could be a great read. It's very simple to read. It's not legalese, so I can't understand what the heck the lawyer is writing. All right. Time out. You need to understand something, the basics. And this is why people love coming into our office, because we're going to walk you through this valley you don't want to talk about. Or maybe the kid says, I don't want to talk about it, Mom and Dad. I don't want to talk about you dying.
All right.
Well, we need to talk about your lights going dim, because usually it's dim and out. Hopefully it's quickly out like my dad. But the question is, do you have the documents we just spoke about? Do you have them in place? Maybe you need to get them in place and have someone review them. This is why when people come into us, Alex, we look at their dreams, their dollars, and then the dynasty. Let's see what happens if we're in your life as a financial advising office for now, 44 years now, going on 44. The question is going to be, where do we stand? How can we help you make sure that you're buttoned up in every area? Do we have to call your attorney? Do you want to use the attorneys we work with? It doesn't matter. We don't get paid for that. We're not attorneys. But we can tell you one thing. In the financial world, we need to know the area of taxes and legal documents for making sure your dynasty is protected. So again, step one, I got a problem. I need to review it. Step two, maybe you read a couple things, read your documents, pull them out of the shelf, pull them out of the bank vault, read them. Number three, make an appointment. Maybe give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Again, this is not just a sales gimmick. We're not going to charge you. This is totally complimentary. Maybe you're looking for a firm like ours. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're a financial advisor, didn't ever read them. To me, that's just double daggum dumb, because they should have paid attention to how the documents are, because most documents are incorrectly set up on beneficiaries. Let me make it real clear. Most all documents in the financial world are probably 9 times out of 10 are set up incorrect, because you think your will is in charge, but it's not. The documents, the financial documents, are number one, the ace of spades, followed by the will. You know what? You want to avoid probate? 609-488-4646. I promise you're going to love when you visit our firm, and you're going to help understand what to do. Alex, I'm not sure if this is clear, but step one, take care right now and make that decision. I need to review this.
Well, and Scott, one thing not to be overlooked, there can be some big tax consequences with these financial decisions, and it comes to legacy, inheritance. I mean, there's definitely some things you could do to better set yourself up for the future.
Depending on what president and what the laws are at the time, this is big. Understanding how taxes work about passing money on to the children. In the state of New Jersey, they had the gas tax, which eliminated the inheritance tax. So no reason to move to Florida for that reason. Maybe if you want to get warm and toasty, maybe you go to Florida or down south. But the other area is understanding the taxation, Alex. You brought up a great point of the estate planning. Maybe your money's going not to your children because you maybe don't have children. Maybe it's going to charity, and maybe it's going to maybe a close friend, relative, niece, nephew. Okay, if that's the case, wonderful. What's the taxation? And the next question is maybe you're going to give money to a charity. You know what? I love it. It's better to give than receive. How about better to give and get more back? I wrote a paper on that for the churches. What a great way to pass on assets. So you want to use your IRA assets to pass on to the charity so they get it tax-free, even though, quote, it was taxable. Now it's tax-free. So again, if you've got charities, you do tax planning in addition to legacy planning, looking at all the areas. And then we go into the medical planning. How do we hide the money or protect the money from the inevitable crows and the crowns, the medical department called the nursing homes and facilities. So this is really important when they say that. So your beneficiary designations, are they up to date? Your beneficiary designations, can we avoid taxes? Your beneficiary designations, can we avoid probate?
That is Scott McLean, founder of McLean Advisory Group, located here in Waretown, New Jersey, in beautiful Ocean County, helping you shore up your retirement future, going over creating a lasting legacy. And if you have questions, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. And when we come back, it is one of our favorite segments as we're going to be reaching into that financial insanity mailbag, answer some of your questions.
Not again.
Oh, yeah, we're doing it, baby. That's on the other side. Thanks for joining us.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Sounds like the mailman's here.
It's time to answer questions from the McLean Advisory Group mailbag.
Time now to reach into the financial insanity mailbag and answer some of the questions that our fine listeners have sent in. And remember, you can always give us a call if you have a question, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. I'm Alex Dingman. That is Scott McLean, founder of McLean Advisory Group in Waretown. And our first question actually comes from Tuckerton. So this is William and Sarah.
Hey, William. Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
Hope you're listening.
Yes, and thank you so much for sending this in. But the question, I'm worried about being able to afford a nursing home one day. What are some of the options for handling those types of expenses? What say you, Scott?
Number one, I'd like you to have a look into what's called an irrevocable trust to protect your assets for your children. This is a quick answer without all the details. So you might want to think about an irrevocable trust to protect your assets so it can pass on to any heirs. Number two, the other option is, were either one of you a veteran? If you were a veteran, this could be a great way. By using the irrevocable trust and by using it, you could perhaps have nursing home for free in the state of New Jersey, and great for if you're a veteran, or maybe if those people listening, their parents are veterans. In Vineland, New Jersey is a beautiful place, as well as two other places in New Jersey. I'm just using down here at Jersey Shore. Number three, the other options of handling those expenses is, where do you pull money from based on the tax rules? And based on the tax rules, William, I can tell you the tax returns, can we write things off? Can we not write things off? What is eligible? What's not eligible? How do we, what accounts do we pull them from? This is where the financial planner, if you have one, should be paying attention to these questions, as well as ding, 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 ding. Remember this. Do you have a power of attorney for healthcare matters, as well as the other legal documents that will make sure that the healthcare directive is really clear. So this is very important. Pay attention to this. And William, if you've got a question, or Sarah, 609-488-4646. You need these questions. That's a great question, Sarah.
Again, that is 609-488-4646. And we have another question in here. This is from Forked River. This is Eric and Denise. They say, if we are not sure we're getting the right guidance to help protect our income from potential risks, and they list those risks as market risk, healthcare costs, taxes, inflation, what should we do? So they don't know if they're getting the right guidance about these risks. What do you think?
Well, I'm glad you called in, Eric and Denise. Number one, I'm glad you called in because you see a challenge, and it's a shame that if you're a do-it-yourselfer, and there's many people out there that do it themselves because you're afraid you're going to get taken advantage of. I think the first thing is if you'd like to visit our office, no cost, no obligation, please give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. This is not a plug to get your business. This is a plug to say, how can I help you? Because this is a very great question. And so number one, how are your investments tiered up to reduce taxes, which is your tax return and your investments? Number two, how are they designated as beneficiaries in case you go to heaven and you're one of you is left behind or passing it on to the kids? Number three, the healthcare costs. It could be extremely expensive. It could evaporate your estate quickly. And so depending on how much you have, that is. So are we self-insured or not self-insured? Should we look at other types of investment vehicles out there that could double or triple the long-term care costs? There's some really good tools in the tool shed that you can pull out in case your lights start to go dim. You go into a facility. And again, like I said, for our veterans, it could be a great planning stage now. Should I set up an irrevocable trust? Am I a veteran during certain periods of war? And this is what we specialize in at our firm, in addition to the finances. So that's a really important thing because, again, your money can evaporate very, very quickly as you're protecting it for your income. And, of course, how you invest your money is everything.
I love it. Great question, Eric and Denise. Thank you so much. All right, another question here. And I want to remind folks, if you have questions, that number, 609-488-4646. This comes from Harry in Southampton. So,
a backyard.
Yeah, Harry asks, how much would you recommend I might set aside every year for retirement if I'm planning to retire in 10 years?
Wow, that's a great question. Number one, I'm glad you're thinking about it now and 10 years away. That's not normal. I mean, people think about it, but they put it on the shelf and they forget about things. Right. It's a great idea, and maybe a number should be put down. Number one, what do you have now? How much do you have now? Number two, how much can you put away? And where does it go? Into an IRA, to a Roth IRA, to a non-qualified account? And number three, on top of that, you kind of want to think about, okay, what is my lifestyle going to be based on today's income? How much do you need on a monthly basis? And you might say, well, Scotty, I only need $5,000 a month. Well, then if you're a farmer, you probably need more than that, but out in my area. But the thought is, what do I need now? And now we can run it for inflation. We can do an assumption. But again, this is assumption to get you a kind of a number to figure out what should I put away. You may not be able to put away enough now. Maybe you'll play catch up. I don't know your circumstance. I don't know if you have to take care of kids, no kids, you've got a bunch of animals. But the question is going to be, let's get a number. Lastly, I would encourage you to keep your eye on your Social Security statements, mysocialsecurity.gov or socialsecurity.gov, and pull up your statements. For everybody listening, go there. Make sure that when you pull up your statements, it's online, you see how much your Social Security is going to give you. And if you continue to work the next 10 years, making the assumption that you're making now, this could also offset how much you save. So, and then the last thought is this, and I don't mean to be unkind to anyone who I'm about to say, but is there a possibility you're going to receive an inheritance? I'm not trying to tell you to go knock off mom and dad. That's not what I'm saying. Make it real clear. I'm just saying, is there a possibility of inheritance? And maybe we can add that in or not add that in as I call it an inflation disclaimer. Again, I'm not trying to be unkind, but this could be a benefit to some people. And if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it, but this could be an added blessing in the future. So those are the areas. To give you a finite rule, we'd have to sit down, have a little meeting, drill down on some numbers. And the best place to do that, the best place to go is 609-488-4646. Let me say it again, because it's our website, 609-488-4646. We've got a lot of juicy materials on there. Go to our website. We've got a lot of white pages. We're adding more and more all the time. 609-488-4646.com. Alex?
Yeah, and thank you, Harry, for sending that in. As we have one more question here going through the Financial Insanity mailbag. This question is from Linda, and Linda is in Beach Haven West. All right, Linda, the question here. Can you talk more about what goes into a written financial strategy? I keep hearing about the importance of having a written financial strategy, and I would like something like a checklist to help make sure I have everything covered. We know people love checklists. What do you think about that, Scott? Is this something you could help a person with?
I think so. Linda, I was just mentioning to Harry in Southampton, and we've got a lot of stuff on our website, but we actually have on our website a booklet you can download, or you can pop in our office. We can print it out for you, but it's a great booklet you can read online on how to prepare for retirement and how much money, and then the strategies of retirement. Great material to start with if you wish to go there, or maybe you want to pop in and we can have a quick discussion on the phone or in person. But when it goes into a written game plan, a written strategy, number one, how much do you need? As we were talking to Harry about. Number two, when's the taxation today, or when you're about to retire? Today could be different than tomorrow. We have to pay attention to what the government's doing. And finally, we look at all the areas. What have you saved? What do you have? Where's it going? As we said to Harry has a great question leading right into you, buddy. I can tell you, as well as Eric and Denise from Forked River, bringing up inflation. And again, William and Sarah, it seems like all the questions you're bringing up, and William and Sarah brought up in Tuckerton, this is a local area. But I can tell you, a written game plan can change. Today's plan may change to tomorrow's plan. Today you're feeling healthy and everything's good. They give you a written plan. It could change because you could be sick and disabled tomorrow. So again, it's good to have a game plan. It's good to have it in writing. It's good, Linda. I don't know if you're married or single, or maybe you have a significant other, a partner in your life, but maybe when people visit with us, we'd like to have both people together, or maybe your children. If you have children, come into the office. Let's put a game plan together and talk about a strategy that can go into paper, written format. But again, because there's so many questions, because your questions on everybody, whether you're in Beach Haven, Southampton, Forked River, Tuckerton, the Moon, like where Alex is from, you kind of want to make sure your questions are aligning into the very simple as our 3D process called the dreams, your dollars, and your dynasty. It all fits together. So thanks for those questions, guys, right here in Ocean County. I appreciate you. And Burlington County, Southampton, Harry.
Yeah, and that's one of your great values, Scott, is just be able to look at everything, and everybody's different, but able to look at that and say, okay, what is the right approach? And so it's the kind of thing we want folks, just don't be scared. You just got to start.
Knowledge is everything until you apply it. If it's not applied, knowledge is nothing. You have to apply the tools and the concepts. And I see this so often. There's a lot of brainiacs out there that can't walk and chew gum. So you want to take this information for those do-it-yourselfers. How do you take this information and then plug it in? If you have those questions for the do-it-yourselfers, give our studios a call. We give a quick phone call, whether it's myself or George, and guide you through. Number two, if you're figuring this out for yourself, sometimes you might want to lean on the shoulders of people who have been through it. I've been through my sister dying just a few months ago. I've been through pets dying just a few weeks ago. I've been through clients passing away or their lights going dim. I've been through veterans and our veterans clients. And by the way, when I say our whole office, because we want to love on our clients and guide them through it. If you've got these issues, we've been through it. And if we have answers, and if we don't have answers, being in this area since 1979, I've been in Ocean County since 1979. I can promise you, I know the people to call. I can find out answers. But when you just take this knowledge and do nothing with it, that's ignorance, lack of knowledge, stupidity, doing nothing. Take action. I can promise you, whether it's with our firm or any other firm, please take action. If your advisor is not looking at the tax returns as well as the legal documents, you're on your own, leading you to a mousetrap, as my book said. And by the way, you come and visit with us, we'll be happy to give you our book so you can follow the concepts and the process that we follow with all of our clients and potential clients and people who just meet with us. I can tell you, this could be a great place for you as a safe haven of what do I do next.
I love it. Good stuff, Scott. And thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. That number for a final time, if you have questions, 609-488-4646. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us for Financial Insanity.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.